Let me be real with you, Jay. You keep telling yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised. You keep acting like time is unlimited, like you got forever to get serious, forever to change, forever to change, forever to chase the dream. But listen to me carefully. You're running out of time. Every single day that you wake up and don't move closer to your purpose, you're spending a currency you can never earn back. Time doesn't care about your excuses. Time doesn't feel sorry for your pain. Time keeps moving whether you're ready or not. Some of you are tired, not because you're doing, but because you're doing too little of what actually matters. You're busy, but you're not productive. You're moving, but you're not progressing. And the clock is ticking. You said you wanted success, but your actions say you're comfortable. You say you wanted greatness, but your habits say you're scared. At some point, you gotta stop talking and start transforming. You don't need another motivational video. You don't need another quote. You need discipline. You need urgency. You need urgency. You need to wake up like today is the deadline, because one day it will be. People die with dreams still inside them, not because they weren't talented, but because they waited. They waited for the perfect moment. They waited for approval. They waited until fear left. Fear never leaves. Time does. If you're breathing, you still have a chance, but the window is closing. The question isn't, can you do it? The real question is, will you do it before time runs out? Get obsessed. Get uncomfortable. Get moving. Because regret lasts longer than pain, and time is not slowing down for you. Time is the one thing you can't negotiate with. You can negotiate a salary. You can negotiate a deadline. You can negotiate a relationship, but you cannot negotiate with time. Time doesn't listen to your excuses. It doesn't care about your intention. It doesn't pause because you're tired, confused, scared, or unprepared. It keeps moving second by second, minute by minute, day by day, whether you are winning or wasting. And that's why time is more valuable than money, because money responds to effort. But time only responds to action in the present moment. You can lose money and recover. People do it every single day. Businesses fail and come back stronger. People go broke and rebuild well. You can make bad financial decisions and still have another chance. But when you lose time, it's permanent. There's no refund. There is no reset button. There is no way to rewind the clock and say, let me try again. That moment is gone forever. And the scary part is most people don't realize it until years have passed. They wake up one day and ask themselves, where did the time go? It didn't go anywhere. You spent it. The question is, what did you buy with it? Every day you wake up, you are given a fixed amount of time, just like everyone else. The difference between those who build something meaningful and those who stay stuck isn't intelligence, luck, or background. It's how they spend their time. Some people invest their time and some people waste it. Some people use time to grow, to learn, to practice, to improve. Others use time to complain, to scroll, to delay, to escape reality. And both groups are making a choice, even if one group doesn't want to treat money with respect. We budget it, we track it, we protect it. We feel pain when we lose it. But time, we throw it away like it's unlimited. We say yes to things that don't matter. We stay in conversations that drain us. We stay in habits that keep us small. We tell ourselves we'll get serious later as if later is guaranteed. That's the lie that keeps people average. They think they have time. They think there will always be another chance, another year, another opportunity. But time is silent when it leaves. It doesn't announce itself. It just disappears. Think about how dangerous procrastination really is. It doesn't feel dangerous because it's comfortable. It whispers a not today. It convinces you that tomorrow will be better, easier, more convenient. But procrastination is expensive and it charges you in time. Every dream delay costs you days. Every excuse costs you hours. Every fear costs you moments you'll never get back. And the longer you wait, the more interest you pay in regret. Money can buy comfort. It can buy convenience. It can buy things. But it cannot buy another morning. It cannot buy another year of you. It cannot buy another chance to tell someone you love them. It cannot buy another opportunity to become who you were meant to be. That's why time is priceless. Once a season of your life passes, it never returns in the same form. You'll never be this age again. You'll never have this exact energy again. You'll never be in this exact position again. The question is, are you aware of that, or are you sleepwalking through your day? Some people say they want success, but their daily schedule says otherwise. They invest hours in entertainment and minutes into growth. They know the price of everything but the value of nothing. They chase quick pleasure and sacrifice long-term purpose. And then they wonder why life feels empty, why they feel behind, why they feel like they're running but not arriving anywhere. It's not because they lack potential, it's because they've been careless with time. Time reveals priorities. What you consistently give your time to is what you truly care about, not what you say you care about. You can say family is important, but if you never spend time with them, time tells the truth. You can say your dream matters, but if you never work on it, time exposes the lie. Time doesn't respond to words, it responds to action. And that's uncomfortable because it forces you to confront reality. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming they'll have more time later to fix what they're avoiding now, more time to get healthy, more time to learn the skill, more time to start the business, more time to work on a relationship. But later often comes with less energy, more responsibilities, and fewer options. The window doesn't stay open forever. Life starts adding weight, and what felt easy to stop becomes harder to carry. When you understand the value of time, you move differently. You stop entertaining nonsense. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter. You stop waiting for permission. You stop delaying decisions that you already know the answer to. You become intentional. You wake up with urgency, not anxiety, but purpose. You start asking better questions, like, is this worth my time? And is this moving me closer or further away from the life I want? Urgency doesn't mean rushing blindly. It means respecting the moment you're in. It means showing up fully. It means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It means understanding every disciplined hour compounds, just like money invested wisely. A single hour of focused effort repeated daily can change the entire direction of your life over time. But you have to show up consistently, and consistency is impossible without valuing time. People often say they're waiting for motivation, but motivation is unreliable. Time doesn't wait for motivation. Discipline is what honors time. Discipline says, I'll do it even when it's hard, even when it's bored, even when no one is watching. And that's where growth happens. Not in the big moments, but in the quiet hours where you choose to use time wisely. You don't need more time. You need more time. You need more respect for the time you already have. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, but not everyone gets the same results. The difference is focus. The difference is intention. The difference is the willingness to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. That sacrifice isn't glamorous, but it's necessary. Because comfort consumes time and growth requires it. If you really understood how valuable time is, you wouldn't waste it on things that don't build you. You wouldn't stay stuck in cycles that lead nowhere. You wouldn't keep postponing the life you want. You realize that the cost of inaction is higher than the cost of effort. You realize that pain from discipline is temporary, but pain from regret is permanent. One day you'll look back on this season of your life, and you'll either be grateful that you used your time well, or you'll wish you had. That day is coming whether you prepare for it or not. And when it comes, money won't matter. Titles won't matter. Excuses won't matter. Only one question will remain. Did you use your time to become who you were capable of becoming? Time is not just ticking. It's calling. It's asking you to wake up, to step up, to stop waiting. You don't need permission to take your life seriously. You don't need approval to invest in yourself. You don't need perfect conditions to start. You just need to decide that your time is too valuable to waste. Because when it's all said and done, the true cost of a wasted life isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in moments that could have mattered, chances that could have changed everything, and potential that never had the chance to breathe. And once time is gone, it doesn't come back to ask if you're ready. Comfort feels harmless at first. It feels earned. It feels like rest. It feels like peace. But comfort has a dark side that most people don't recognize until it's too late. Comfort slowly convinces you that where you are is good enough, even when deep down you were meant for more. It doesn't attack you loudly. It doesn't push you violently. It whispers. It soothes. It tells you to relax, to wait, to take it easy. And while you're settling in, urgency quietly dies. Urgency is what moves people from intention to action. It's the inner pressure that says, I can't stay here. Comfort removes that pressure. When life becomes predictable, when pain is reduced just enough, when survival is no longer threatened, most people stop pushing. They stop stretching. They stop demanding more from themselves. Not because they're lazy, but because comfort convinces them there's no rush. And when there's no rush, dreams get delayed. Comfort creates the illusion of safety. You start believing that tomorrow will look just like today. And that belief is dangerous because tomorrow is never guaranteed. And even when it comes, it doesn't come with the same energy, the same hunger, or the same opportunity. Comfort tells you that you have time. Urgency tells you that time is limited. One makes you sleep, the other makes you move. The biggest threat to your potential is not failure, rejection, or struggle. It's comfort. Failure wakes people up. Pain forces people to change. Pressure creates diamonds, but comfort puts people to sleep with their eyes open. They go to work, come home, repeat the cycle, and slowly forget the fire they once had. They still talk about their dreams, but there's no heat behind the words. No hunger, no desperation. Just memories of what they used to want acceptable. It lowers your standards without you realizing it. What once felt unbearable slowly becomes normal. You used to being underpaid, unfulfilled, undisciplined, and disconnected from your purpose. Not because you planned to settle, but because comfort made settling feel reasonable. You tell yourself, at least it's stable, at least it's not that bad, at least I'm doing better than some people. And in comparing yourself downward, you lose the urgency to climb upward. Urgency is uncomfortable by nature. It demands sacrifice. It demands change. Comfort resists all three. Comfort loves routines that don't challenge you. Comfort loves habits that don't stretch you. Comfort loves excuses disguised as self-care. And while rest is necessary, comfort without intention becomes a trap. Rest is meant to restore you so you can keep moving. Comfort makes you stop moving altogether. Look at how many people delay their calling because they're too comfortable to risk discomfort. They stay in jobs they hate because the paycheck is familiar. They stay in relationships that drain them because loneliness feels scarier than dissatisfaction. They stay in routines that don't serve them because change feels inconvenient. Comfort always chooses the known over the necessary. Urgency chooses growth, even when it hurts. Comfort trains you to avoid pressure. Urgency teaches you to use pressure. Pressure is not your enemy. Pressure reveals who you are. Pressure forces focus. Pressure strips away excuses. When pressure is gone, discipline weakens. When discipline weakens, progress slows. And when progress slows, time starts slipping away unnoticed. One of the most dangerous phrases comfort teaches you is, I'll do it later. Later feels safe. Later feels flexible. Later feels flexible. Later feels like control. But later is comfort's favorite lie. Later turns into months. Months turn into years. Years turn into regret. Urgency understands that later is expensive. It knows that action delayed is opportunity denied. Comfort also numbs your awareness. You stop paying attention to how fast time is moving because nothing is pushing you. Days blend together. Weeks disappear. You wake up tired, not from effort, but from repetition. You're exhausted, yet you haven't built anything meaningful. That's the fatigue comfort creates. It drains your spirit while preserving your body. Urgency sharpens awareness. When urgency is alive, every hour matters. Every decision carries weight. You become intentional with your energy, your conversations, your commitments. You stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who don't understand your vision. You stop entertaining distractions that don't align with your goals. You move with purpose because you understand the cost of delay. Comfort also feeds fear. It makes fear sound logical. It says, why risk what you have? Or why step into uncertainty? Or why make things harder? And fear loves comfort because comfort gives it justification. Urgency challenges fear. Urgency says, what you're avoiding today will cost you tomorrow. Urgency doesn't wait for fear to disappear. It moves despite it. Many people think they'll find urgency when the moment is right. But urgency isn't found. It's created. It's a decision to refuse stagnation. It's a refusal to let comfort dictate your future. And the truth is, the longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to generate urgency. Muscles weaken without resistance, so does ambition. Comfort gives you just enough satisfaction to stay, but not enough fulfillment to grow. That's why so many people feel restless but inactive. They're uncomfortable enough to complain, but too comfortable to change. The urgency bridges that gap. It turns dissatisfaction into movement. It transforms frustration into fuel. Think about the moments in life when you changed the most. It was never when things were easy. It was when you were uncomfortable, when pressure was high, when the cost of staying the same became greater than the pain of change. That's urgency. Comfort delays that realization. It postpones growth by cushioning consequences. Comfort also distorts your sense of urgency by making struggle look optional. You start believing that success should come without sacrifice. That growth should be painless. That discipline should feel good all the time. Urgency understands that discomfort is the price of transformation. Comfort tries to negotiate that price down until nothing changes. Urgency doesn't mean panic. It means priority. It means deciding what matters most and aligning your life around it. Comfort scatters your focus. Urgency concentrates it. Comfort fills your schedule. Urgency fills your purpose. Comfort keeps you busy. Urgency keeps you effective. You don't break free from comfort accidentally. You break free by choosing challenge daily, by doing things that stretch you, by putting yourself in environments that demand more from you, by setting standards that comfort uncomfortable. Growth requires friction. Comfort removes friction, and with it, progress. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they never try with urgency because comfort made waiting feel safe. Potential dies quietly in comfortable environments. Not from lack of ability, but from lack of urgency. Not from absence of opportunity, but from avoidance of discomfort. At some point, you have to ask yourself if comfort is costing you the life you actually want. If the ease of today is stealing the excellence of tomorrow. If the lack of urgency is slowly turning your dreams into memories instead of realities. That question matters because time doesn't stop while you're comfortable. Urgency is a choice. It's a decision to live like what you want matters now, not later. Comfort will always be available. Urgency won't. Windows close. Seasons change. Energy fades. Opportunities pass. Comfort stays, but it keeps you exactly where you are. If you want to grow, you have to make comfortable. You have to disrupt routines that no longer serve you. You have to challenge habits that keep you small. You have to stop negotiating with yourself and start committing. Because the longer you stay comfortable, the quieter urgency becomes. And one day, if you're not careful, urgency will disappear completely, replaced by acceptance. That's when dreams stop knocking. That's when potential goes unused. That's when people say, oh, this is just how life is. Not because it's true, but because comfort won. The enemy was never hardship. The enemy was comfort convincing you that you had time. Being busy has become a badge of honor. People wear it proudly, like proof that they matter, that they're important, that they're doing something with their lives. Ask someone how they're doing, and the most common answer is, busy. But busy doesn't mean effective. Busy doesn't mean productive. Busy doesn't mean you're moving forward. In many cases, busy is just a sophisticated form of distraction that keeps you from facing the truth. You're moving a lot, but you're not getting anywhere. Progress is about direction, not motion. You can run all day on a treadmill and still be in the same place when you stop. That's what a lot of people are doing with their lives. They wake up early, rush through their day, check off tasks, respond to messages, attend meetings, handle responsibilities, and collapse at night feeling exhausted. Yet weeks turn into months, months into years, and nothing meaningful has changed. They're tired, but they're not fulfilled. That's the danger of confusing activity with advancement. Being busy often feels productive because it fills time and quiets guilt. When you're busy, you don't have to think too deeply about whether what you're doing actually matters. You don't have to confront the bigger questions about purpose, direction, or legacy. Busy keeps your mind occupied, but it doesn't move your life forward. It gives the illusion of effort without demanding intentional growth. True progress requires clarity. You have to know where you're going to recognize whether you're moving closer or further away. Busy people often lack that clarity. They say yes to everything because they haven't defined what really matters. Every request feels urgent. Every task feels necessary. And so they spread themselves thin, mistaking volume of work for value of work. But doing more is not the same as doing what matters. Progress is selective. It requires saying no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. Busy people struggle with this because saying no feels uncomfortable. It feels selfish. It feels risky. So they keep adding more to their plate until their energy is gone and their focus is scattered. Progress, on the other hand, demands focus. It demands the courage to eliminate distractions, even productive-looking ones. One of the reasons people stay busy instead of progressing is because progress is uncomfortable. Progress requires confronting weaknesses, learning new skills, and risking failure. Busy work feels safer. You can stay occupied without being challenged. You can hide behind effort instead of results. You can tell yourself you're trying, even if you're avoiding the one thing that would actually change your situation. Busy also creates a false sense of importance. When your schedule is full, you feel needed. You feel relevant. You feel validated. But that validation is fragile because it's tied to activity, not impact. The moment you stop, the feeling disappears. Progress creates a different kind of confidence. It's quieter, deeper, and rooted in growth rather than approval. Another trap of being busy is that it fragments your attention. Progress requires deep focus, sustained effort, and patience. Busy work pulls you in 100 directions at once. Notifications, emails, messages, and small tasks constantly interrupt your thinking. You're always reacting, rarely creating. And when you're always reacting, you're letting circumstances dictate your life instead of designing it intentionally. Progress often comes from doing fewer things better. But that goes against how most people are conditioned. They're taught to hustle, grind, and stay occupied. They're praised for long hours, not meaningful outcomes. So they fill their days without questioning whether those days are building towards something worthwhile. Over time, they become experts at staying busy and amateurs at making progress. There's also a comfort in busyness. If you're busy, you don't have time to feel dissatisfied. You don't have time to notice that you're unfulfilled. You don't have time to sit with the discomfort of unmet potential. Busy numbs awareness. Progress sharpens it. Progress forces you to measure yourself against your goals, and that can be painful. It exposes gaps between where you are and where you want to be. Being busy can also delay accountability. When results aren't there, it's easy to say, I've been busy, instead of asking, have I been effective? Busyness becomes an excuse that sounds responsible, but results don't respond to excuses. Life doesn't reward effort alone, it rewards aligned effort. Progress happens when your actions are directly connected to your desired outcome. Another reason busy doesn't equal progress is because progress often looks boring. It's repetitive. It's focused. It's doing the same small, meaningful actions consistently over time. Busy work feels exciting by comparison. Changes constantly. It creates urgency. It keeps you stimulated, but stimulation is not transformation. Growth happens in repetition, not in chaos. Progress also requires reflection, and busy people rarely reflect. They move from one task to the next without stopping to evaluate what's working and what's not. Reflection feels unproductive because it doesn't produce immediate output. But without reflection, you keep repeating the same patterns, the same mistakes, the same habits. Progress requires pauses, adjustments, and intentional course correction. Busy people often mistake pressure for purpose. Just because something is demanding doesn't mean it's meaningful. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. Progress requires discernment. It requires the ability to separate noise from importance, activity from advancement. Without that discernment, you end up serving other people's priorities instead of your own. There's also an emotional component to busyness. Staying busy can be a way to avoid fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of change. When you're busy, you don't have to take the one bold step that could alter everything. You can tell yourself you're not ready yet, that you need to finish a few more things first. Progress demands courage. Busy work delays that moment of truth. Progress is measurable. You can track it. You can see evidence of it. Skills improve. Results compound. Direction becomes clearer. Busy work often leaves no trace. At the end of the day, there's nothing tangible to show for all the effort except exhaustion. That exhaustion can feel satisfying in the short term, but over time it becomes draining because it's not connected to growth. Another danger is that busyness can make you impatient. When you're doing many things, you expect quick returns. Progress, however, is often slow at first. It requires faith in the process. Busy people get frustrated easily because they're constantly switching focus. They don't stay with one thing long enough to see it develop. Progress requires commitment, not constant movement. You don't need a fuller schedule to make progress. You need a clearer one. You need space to think, to plan, to execute deliberately. Space feels uncomfortable at first because it exposes you. It removes distractions. But that space is where strategy is born. That's where meaningful decisions are made. That's where progress begins. At some point, you have to ask yourself a hard question. If I keep doing exactly what I'm doing now, where will I be in 5 years? Not busier, but better. Not more exhausted, but more fulfilled. That question cuts through the illusion of busyness and forces you to evaluate direction. Progress requires alignment. Your daily actions must align with your long-term vision. If they don't, you're just spinning your wheels. Alignment often means slowing down to speed up. It means letting go of tasks that don't contribute to your growth, even if they make you feel productive. It means choosing impact over appearance. Busy people often confuse urgency with importance. Progress understands that not everything urgent deserves attention. Some things can wait. Some things don't matter at all. Learning to prioritize is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Without it, your time and energy will be consumed by whatever screams the loudest. In the end, being busy might impress people temporarily, but progress changes your life permanently. One fills your calendar. The other fulfills your potential. One keeps you occupied. The other moves you forward. And if you don't consciously choose progress, busyness will gladly take its place and steal your time while giving you nothing lasting in return. Motivation is exciting, is loud, emotional, and powerful in the moment. It gives you goosebumps. It makes you feel unstoppable. It convinces you that today is the day everything will change. But motivation has a weakness. It doesn't last. It shows up when conditions feel right and disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. That's why relying on motivation is dangerous. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It shows up whether you're inspired or exhausted, confident or doubtful. And that's why discipline beats motivation every time. Motivation is based on emotion, and emotions are stable. They rise and fall with your mood, your environment, and your circumstances. One bad day, one criticism, one failure, and motivation can vanish. Discipline is built on decision, not emotion. It's a commitment you make in advance that says, no matter how I feel, I will do what needs to be done. That commitment is what carries people through the moments when motivation can't be found. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. That's backwards. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Discipline forces action first. It says a move now, our feelings later. And once you move, once you start doing the work, motivation often follows. But if you wait for motivation to show up before you start, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Motivation is selective. It shows up for things that are exciting and new. Discipline shows up for repetition. Growth doesn't happen in excitement, it happens in consistency. It's doing the same thing over and over again when it's boring, when progress is slow, and when no one is watching. Motivation hates boredom. Discipline thrives in it. When motivation fades, excuses become louder. You start negotiating with yourself. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, that you deserve a break, that skipping one day won't matter. Discipline shuts down negotiation. It removes choice from the equation. You don't ask yourself if you feel like it. You do it because it's part of who you are. Discipline turns actions into identity. You stop saying, I'm trying, and start saying, this is what I do. That shift is powerful. When behavior becomes identity, it no longer depends on motivation. A disciplined person doesn't wake up wondering if they'll do the work. They wake up knowing they will, because it's non-negotiable. Motivation is reactive. It depends on external input, videos, music, people, success, praise. Discipline is internal. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need encouragement. It operates quietly and consistently. That's why disciplined people often look boring from the outside, but unstoppable over time. The truth is, motivation is unreliable in the moments that matter most. When you're tired, when you fail, when progress feels invisible, when results are slow. Those are the moments that determine success or failure. And those moments don't care how motivated you were yesterday. They demand discipline today. Discipline is what carries you through the valley between desire and achievement. Everyone wants the result. Few are willing to embrace the process. Motivation focuses on the reward. Discipline focuses on the routine, and the routine is what produces the reward. People often misunderstand discipline. They think it's restriction, but discipline is freedom. It frees you from inconsistency. It frees you from relying on mood. It frees you from the cycle of starting and stopping. When you're disciplined, you're no longer controlled by how you feel in the moment. Motivation can start a journey, but it can't sustain it. Discipline sustains. It's the engine that keeps running when the excitement is gone. It's what separates those who finish from those who fade out halfway. Discipline also builds confidence. Not the loud, temporary confidence that comes from hype, but a quiet, deep confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you say you would do, even when it's hard, your self-trust grows. Motivation doesn't build that. Discipline does. There will be days when you don't believe in yourself. Days when doubt is louder than faith. Days when quitting feels reasonable. Discipline doesn't argue with doubt. It works anyway. And over time, discipline produces results that silence doubt better than motivation ever could. Motivation loves the spotlight. Discipline loves the shadows. Motivation wants recognition. Discipline wants results. Motivation feels good in the moment. Discipline feels good in the long run. One is emotional. The other is strategic. Discipline also protects you from burnout. Motivation pushes you to go hard when you feel good, often too hard. Then when motivation crashes, so do you. Discipline creates balance. It teaches you to pace yourself, to work steadily, to recover intentionally, and to keep going long term. The world is full of motivated people who never became disciplined. They start strong and fade fast. They have bursts of effort followed by long periods of inactivity. Discipline eliminates that cycle. It creates momentum that doesn't depend on excitement. Discipline is especially powerful because it compounds. Small discipline actions done daily create massive change over time. Motivation looks for big moments. Discipline builds through small ones, and small actions repeated consistently outperform big actions done occasionally. Discipline also simplifies life. When you decide in advance what you will do, you reduce decision fatigue. You don't waste energy debating with yourself every day. You already know the answer. That saved energy can be used to improve, refine, and grow. Motivation often disappears when results don't come quickly. Discipline understands delayed gratification. It knows that effort today may not show immediate rewards, but it trusts the process. That trust is built through commitment, not emotion. Discipline is what allows you to show up on bad days, and bad days matter more than good ones. Anyone can work hard when they feel great. Success is built by those who work when they don't. Motivation is fragile because it's tied to outcome. Discipline is strong because it's tied to values. When you connect discipline to who you want to be, not just what you want to achieve, it becomes sustainable. Discipline also teaches patience. It slows you down enough to focus on quality instead of speed. Motivation wants quick wins. Discipline builds lasting success. At some point, you have to stop chasing motivation and start building discipline. You have to accept that you won't always feel ready, excited, or confident, and that's okay. Progress doesn't require perfect emotions. It requires consistent action. The people you admire most aren't more motivated than you. They're more disciplined. They learned how to act regardless of how they feel. They learn how to show up even when it's inconvenient. They learn how to commit when quitting was easier. Motivation will inspire you. Fear doesn't always look like fear. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't always show up as panic or anxiety. Most of the time it shows up as logic. It sounds reasonable. It sounds mature. It sounds responsible. Fear says, wait until you're ready. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Fear says, and now isn't the right time. And because it sounds intelligent, people listen to it. Meanwhile, dreams sit untouched, not because they were impossible, but because fear convinced someone to delay. Failure gets a bad reputation, but failure is honest. Failure teaches. Failure gives feedback. Failure hurts, but it also reveals what needs to be fixed. Fear doesn't teach anything. Fear only delays. And that delay is often more damaging than failure itself. When you fail, you learn something. When you're afraid, you stay stuck in the same place, learning nothing, growing nowhere, watching time move forward without you. Most dreams don't die because someone tried and failed. They die because someone never tried at all. Fear keeps people rehearsing life instead of living it. They plan, they prepare, they research, they wait. They tell themselves they're being smart, but deep down they know they're hiding. Fear gives people 1,000 reasons to stay where they are and just enough comfort to make waiting feel acceptable. Fear convinces you that you need certainty before action, but certainty doesn't exist. There's no moment when all the lights turn green and the path is perfectly clear. Growth has always required stepping into the unknown. Fear ignores that truth and demands guarantees that life never provides. And while you're waiting for certainty, opportunities pass quietly. Failure is visible. Fear is invisible. When you fail, at least something happened. There's evidence, there's experience. Fear leaves no trace except regret. Years later, people don't regret the things they tried and failed at nearly as much as the things they never tried at all. Failure becomes a story of courage. Fear becomes a story of what if. Fear also disguises itself as perfectionism. You tell yourself you'll start when it's perfect, when you're fully prepared, when you have more knowledge, more money, more confidence. But perfection is just fear wearing a better outfit. It's fear's way of delaying action without looking afraid. And the problem with perfection is that it keeps moving. The goalpost is never reached, so the start never happens. Failure builds resilience, fear weakens it. Every time you let fear stop you, it gets stronger. It learns that it controls your decisions. Every time you face fear, even imperfectly, it loses power. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move despite it. Failure often happens after courage. Fear happens before courage has a chance to show up. One of the cruelest things fear does is make you doubt your own readiness. It makes you underestimate yourself. It focuses your attention on what you lack instead of what you have. It reminds you of your weaknesses while ignoring your growth. Failure might expose a weakness, but fear convinces you that weakness defines you. And that belief keeps people from stepping forward. Fear also steals momentum. When you delay action, you lose energy. Enthusiasm fades. Confidence weakens. What once felt exciting starts to feel distant. Fear thrives in delay because delay drains motivation. Failure, on the other hand, often creates urgency. It pushes you to adjust, to try again, to come back smarter and stronger. Many people think fear will disappear once they succeed. It won't. Fear doesn't vanish with progress. It changes shape. There is fear at every level. Fear of starting. Fear of being seen. Fear of being judged. Fear of losing what you built. If you wait for fear to leave, you'll wait forever. The people who build meaningful lives are not fearless. They're practiced at moving forward while fear is present. Failure teaches you what fear never will, capability. You don't discover how strong you are by thinking about challenges. You discover it by facing them. Fear keeps strength hidden. Failure reveals it. Even when failure hurts, it proves that you can survive discomfort. Fear lies and tells you that discomfort will destroy you. Fear also distorts time. It makes you believe you have plenty of it. Says there's no rush. But time is not neutral. While you're afraid, time is still moving. Others are learning, building, growing. And one day you look up and realize that fear didn't just delay your dream, it aged it. What once felt urgent now feels heavy because time has passed without progress. Failure can be reframed. Fear cannot. Failure can become experience, wisdom, a lesson, a turning point. Fear only becomes memory. A memory of hesitation, the memory of silence when you should have spoken, a memory of staying when you should have left. Those memories don't inspire growth, they haunt it. Fear also isolates. When you're afraid, you tend to hide. You don't share your ideas, you don't ask for help. You don't expose your vision. Failure often brings connection. People relate to struggle, they support effort. Fear keeps you alone with your doubts, replaying the same thoughts over and over. Another way fear delays dreams is by making failure feel permanent. It exaggerates consequences. It tells you that one mistake will ruin everything, but failure is rarely final. Most success stories are built on multiple failures that no one talks about. Fear magnifies the risk and minimizes the reward. It convinces you that protecting yourself is more important than fulfilling your potential. Fear also confuses caution with wisdom. Wisdom evaluates risk and acts anyway. Fear evaluates risk and freezes. There's a difference between being thoughtful and being paralyzed. Fear wants you to believe you're being smart, when in reality you're avoiding growth. Failure may prove you wrong, but it also gives you data. Fear gives you nothing. You don't grow confidence by avoiding failure. You grow confidence by surviving it. Every time you face fear and act anyway, you build proof that you can handle discomfort. That proof becomes confidence. Fear blocks that process by preventing action. It keeps confidence theoretical instead of earned. Fear delays dreams by convincing you that you are alone in your doubts. It tells you that everyone else is more confident, more prepared, more capable. That's not true. Most people who do both things are scared too. They just decided not to let fear make the decisions. Failure connects you to the shared human experience of trying. Fear convinces you you're uniquely unqualified. At some point, fear will ask you a question, oh, what if it doesn't work? But there's a more important question that fear avoids. What if you never try? Failure answers the first question. Fear avoids the second. And the second question is the one that determines the quality of your life. Fear is patient. It doesn't need to stop you forever. It just needs to stop you today, then tomorrow, then next week. Over time, those small delays become a lifetime. Failure is immediate. It happens, it hurts, and then it passes. Fear stretches pain over years by turning action into hesitation. You will recover from failure faster than you will recover from regret. Failure wounds heal. Regret settles in. Failure reminds you that you tried. Regret reminds you that you did. And the older you get, the heavier regret becomes because you start to see clearly how much fear cost you. Fear delays dreams by making safety more important than meaning. But safety without meaning becomes empty. Failure may disrupt comfort, but it often brings you closer to purpose. Growth has never lived inside comfort. It has always lived just beyond fear. If you let fear decide, it will always choose the familiar over the fulfilling. Failure at least moves you forward. Fear keeps you circling the same starting point, convincing you that standing still is better than falling. But standing still has a cost, and that cost is your potential. Failure might knock you down, but fear keeps you from standing up at all. And that's why fear delays more dreams than failure ever could. Your habits are quiet, but they are powerful. They don't announce themselves with big moments or dramatic shifts. They work silently in the background, shaping your days, your mindset, and eventually your future. Every habit you repeat is casting a vote. Not a one-time vote, but a daily one. And over time, those votes decide the kind of life you live. That's why your habits are voting for your future, whether you're paying attention or not. Most people think big changes come from big decisions. They imagine a single breakthrough moment where everything turns around. But life doesn't usually work that way. Life changes through patterns, through what you do consistently, not occasionally, through the small choices you make when no one is watching. Those small choices don't feel important in the moment, which is why they're so easy to ignore. But they accumulate, and accumulation is where transformation happens. Every habit is a signal to your future self. When you wake up and hit snooze again, you're voting for comfort over discipline. When you choose to scroll instead of learn, you're voting for distraction over growth. When you avoid the hard conversation, the workout, the focused work session, you're voting for ease over excellence. None of these votes feel decisive on their own, but no election is decided by a single vote. It's the total that matters. Habits don't judge you. They don't care about your intention. They simply reflect your priority. You can say you want success, health, peace, or freedom, but your habits reveal what you really want. If your habits don't align with your goals are just wishes for tone. Harsh as that sounds, it's also empowering because habits are changeable. You may not control everything in life, but you control what you do repeatedly. One of the reasons habits are so influential is because they bypass emotion. Motivation comes and goes. Feelings fluctuate. Habits keep going. Once something becomes a habit, it no longer requires a decision. It becomes automatic. And that's dangerous when the habit is harmful, but incredibly powerful when the habit is aligned with growth. Automation works for you or against you, depending on what you've trained yourself to do. People often underbid bad habits because they don't cause immediate damage. Skipping one workout doesn't ruin your health. Wasting 1 hour doesn't destroy your future. But habits are not about single moments. They're about direction. Just like compound interest, habits compound. A small negative habit, repeated daily, quietly moves you away from where you want to be. A small positive habit, repeated daily, quietly moves you closer. Your future self is being built by your present habits. The confidence you want, the discipline you admire in others, the peace you crave. All of it is the result of habits practiced consistently over time. No one wakes up one day suddenly disciplined. They wake up disciplined because they practiced discipline when it was inconvenient. No one suddenly becomes confident. They become confident by keeping small promises themselves again and again. Habits are also powerful because they shape identity. You don't just do habits. Habits do something to you. When you consistently act a certain way, you start to see yourself that way. If you show up daily, you start seeing yourself as reliable. If you avoid challenges daily, you start seeing yourself as someone who quits. That's why changing habits can feel so uncomfortable. You're not just changing actions. You're challenging who you believe you are. Your mind resists because familiarity feels safe. Even harmful habits can feel comforting simply because they're known. But comfort doesn't care about your future. Habits do. And if you want a different future, you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable in the present. Another truth about habits is that they don't need to be extreme to be effective. People often think they need to overhaul their entire life overnight. That kind of thinking leads to burnout. Real change happens through small, manageable shifts. Reading 10 pages a day, walking 20 minutes, writing for 30 minutes, waking up slightly earlier. These habits don't look impressive, but they're powerful because they're sustainable. Your habits also reveal how you handle resistance. Resistance shows up every day. It shows up as tiredness, boredom, doubt, and distraction. Habits train you how to respond to resistance. If your habit is to quit when things get hard, resistance wins. If your habit is to show up anyway, resistance loses. Over time, resistance gets quieter, not because it disappears, but because it learns it can't control you. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they'll change when they feel ready. But readiness is not a feeling. It's a habit. You become ready by acting before you feel ready. Habits don't wait for confidence, they build it. They don't wait for clarity, they create it. They're gonna precedes belief, not the other way around. Habits also shape how you handle time. People who feel constantly behind, however, don't have a time problem. They have a habit problem. Habits either protect your time or consume it. Scrolling, procrastinating, overcommitting. These are habits that drain time. Planning, prioritizing, focusing. These are habits that multiply it. Time responds to structure, and habits create structure. Your environment plays a role in habits, but it's not an excuse. Environment influences behavior, but habits determine how you respond to your environment. You can design your environment to support better habits, but ultimately, habits are choices repeated until they become automatic. And those choices are always voting. One of the most empowering realizations is that you don't have to win every day. You just have to vote consistently. Missing one day doesn't ruin your future, but quitting does. The danger is not imperfection, it's inconsistency. Habits allow room for mistakes without losing momentum. They're about direction, not perfection. Habits also teach patience. Results rarely show up immediately. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. It's where most people quit. But beneath the surface, habits are working. Skills are improving. Discipline is strengthening. Identity is shifting. The breakthrough often comes suddenly, but the work leading to it was gradual. Habits reward those who trust the process. Look at the life you want 5 or 10 years from now. The health, the success, the peace, the confidence. That life is not built by one dramatic decision. It's built by the habits you choose today. The food you eat, the thoughts you entertain, the work you avoid or embrace, the way you speak to yourself. These are all habits and they're all voting. If you don't consciously choose your habits, they will be chosen for you. By convenience, by comfort, by distraction. And those habits will still vote, just not in your favor. Intentional habits are how you take control of that vote. Changing habits requires honesty. You have to be willing to admit which habits are leading you away from where you want to go. Not with shame, but with clarity. Shame keeps you stuck. Clarity sets you free. Once you see habits for what they are, votes for your future. You stop treating them lightly. Your future is not some distant event. It's being built today quietly through repetition. Every habit is a brick. Over time, those bricks form a life. You may not like where you are right now, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. It means it's time to change how you vote. You don't need to change everything at once. You need to change something consistently. One habit aligned with growth is enough to start shifting direction. Add another, then another. Momentum will build. Identity will change. And one day, you'll look around and realize your life looks different. Not because of luck, but because of habits you chose when it was easier not to. Your habits are always voting. The only question is whether they're voting for the future you want or the future you'll regret. Failure has been misunderstood for generations. People fear it, avoid it, hide from it, and judge themselves harshly because of it. But failure is not the real enemy. Failure is loud, visible, and temporary. The real enemy is regret, and regret is quiet, invisible, and permanent. Regret is what stays with you long after the moment has passed. It's the weight you carry when you realize you didn't even give yourself a chance. That's why regret is the real failure. Failure hurts, but it heals. Regret doesn't hurt loudly, it aches slowly. Failure bruises your ego, but regret bruises your soul. When you fail, you can recover, you can learn, you can adjust, you can try again. But when you regret something you never attempted, there's nothing to fix, nothing to learn from, nothing to retry. There's only the haunting question of what could have been. Most people don't regret trying and failing. They regret staying silent when they should have spoken. They regret staying comfortable when they should have taken a risk. They regret choosing safety over growth. Failure gives you a story. Regret gives you silence, and silence is far more painful than a bad ending. Failure happens in a moment. Regret grows over time. At first, regret whispers. This sounds like a small doubt, a mild disappointment. But as years pass, it gets louder. It revisits you in quiet moments. It shows up when you see someone else living the life you once imagined for yourself. It reminds you of opportunities you dismissed and chances you postponed. Failure may embarrass you briefly, but regret humbles you for life. Failure can be explained. You can say, I tried, and it didn't work. Regret cannot be justified so easily. Saying I didn't try carries a deeper weight. It's an admission that fear, comfort, or doubt made your decisions. And that realization is hard to live with because deep down, you know you could have done more. Failure builds character. It forces growth. It strengthens resilience. Regret erodes confidence. It makes you question yourself. It chips away at your belief in your own courage. Over time, regret doesn't just affect what you think about the past. It shapes how you approach the future. People burdened by regret become hesitant. They start believing they missed their chance. They stop dreaming boldly because they're afraid of accumulating more regret. Failure teaches you who you are under pressure. Regret teaches you who you were afraid to be. Failure shows you your limits and helps you expand them. Regret locks you into the memory of limitations you never tested. One leads to evolution, the other leads to stagnation. When you fail, you are still in motion. You are still engaged with life. You are still participating in your own story. Regret often comes from standing still, from watching life happen instead of being part of it, from letting days pass without taking ownership of your direction. Failure says you tried. Regret says you waited. Failure can be shared. People relate to it. They respect effort even when it doesn't succeed. Regret is isolated. It's deeply personal. People rarely talk about the dreams they abandoned. They carry those quietly, afraid to admit how fear shaped their choices. That silence makes regret heavier. That's often followed by clarity. You learn what doesn't work. You learn what matters. You learn what you're capable of enduring. Regret brings confusion. You replay scenarios in your mind, imagining different outcomes, but none of them are real. You're stuck imagining a future that never happened. And imagination without action becomes torture. Failure gives you feedback. Regret gives you questions with no answer. Questions like, oh, what if I had started earlier? Or what if I had believed in myself? Or what if I had stayed consistent? These questions don't lead to solutions. They lead to solutions. They lead to self-blame. And self-blame over time weakens your sense of agency. People often overestimate the cost of failure and underestimate the cost of regret. Failure might cost you pride, time, or resources. Regret costs you peace. It costs you confidence. It costs you the belief that your life is truly yours. And those costs compound quietly over time. Failure is part of every meaningful journey. No one builds anything worthwhile without encountering it. Regret, however, is optional. It's the result of repeated avoidance. It's what happens when you consistently choose short-term comfort over long-term meaning. And the tragedy is that regret often shows up when it's too late to change the original decision. Failure keeps you humble. Regret keeps you bitter. Failure reminds you that growth is a process. Regret convinces you that you missed your chance. That belief can paralyze you, making you hesitant to pursue new opportunities because you're afraid of reliving that feeling. Failure encourages resilience. Regret encourages withdrawal. Failure happens on the path of courage. Regret happens on the path of fear. Courage doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. Fear doesn't guarantee safety. It guarantees dissatisfaction. Failure might knock you down, but regret keeps you down. When you fail, you can still respect yourself for trying. That self-respect matters. It becomes the foundation for future effort. Regret erodes self-respect. You start questioning your bravery. You start wondering if you're the kind of person who always hesitates. And that identity is hard to shake. Failure is visible, which means it can be processed. You can analyze it. You can talk about it. You can work through it. Regret hides in the background of your life, influencing your decisions without being addressed. It shows up as bitterness, impatience, or apathy. People often don't realize their lack of passion comes from unresolved regret. Failure often leads to reinvention. Many people discover their true path only after something doesn't work. Regret closes doors mentally, even when they're still open. It convinces you that the moment has passed, that you're too late, too old, too far behind, and that belief becomes self-fulfilling. Failure can inspire others. Your willingness to try encourages people around you. Regret inspires no one. It only serves as a quiet warning to yourself, a reminder of what happens when you don't act. And even that lesson often comes too late. Failure is a chapter. Regret becomes a theme if you're not careful. One or two regrets are human. A life defined by regret is tragic. That happens not because of lack of opportunity, but because of repeated hesitation. Failure respects effort. Regret punishes indecision. Failure acknowledges that you engaged fully with life, even if the outcome wasn't what you wanted. Regret reminds you that you played it safe at the expense of fulfillment. As people age, their perspective shifts. They stop caring as much about how they're perceived and start caring more about what they missed. That's when regret becomes loudest. Failure from years ago often feels insignificant compared to the weight of untried possibilities. That's why older people often say they wish they had taken more risks, not fewer. Failure is honest. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. Regret often disguises itself as wisdom, caution, or realism, but beneath those labels is fear. And fear, when left unchecked, quietly steals years. Failure forces you to confront reality. Regret keeps you stuck in imagination. One deals with what is. The other obsesses over what might have been. Reality, even when painful, allows growth. Imagination without action creates suffering. Failure can be forgiven. Regret lingers because there's no clear event to forgive yourself for. There was no attempt, no moment of courage, just a series of small decisions to wait, delay, and avoid. And forgiving inaction is much harder than forgiving effort. Failure teaches you timing. Regret teaches you loss. Failure shows you that even if something doesn't work, life continues. Regret makes you feel like life passed you by while you were standing still. Failure sharpens future decisions. Regret dulls them. Failure gives you information. Regret gives you doubt. Over time, doubt becomes hesitation, and hesitation leads to more regret. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Failure is temporary discomfort. Regret is long-term dissatisfaction. Failure stings in the moment. Regret lingers in the background of your life, influencing how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. Failure is a risk you take in pursuit of meaning. Regret is the cost of avoiding that risk, and meaning always requires risk. A safe life often becomes a small life, not because it lacks comfort, but because it lacks fulfillment. At the end of the day, people don't measure their lives by how many times they fail. They measure them by whether they live honestly, courageously, and fully. Failure is evidence of engagement. Regret is evidence of withdrawal. That's I tried. Regret says, I did. And when everything else fades, titles, money, opinions, that difference matters more than anything else. Failure can be transformed into wisdom. Regret can only be carried or released. And the only way to release regret is to stop creating new ones by choosing action now. Failure is not the opposite of success. Regret is the opposite of growth. And that's why regret is the real failure. Today is not just another day. It feels ordinary because you've lived many days like it. Or ordinary days are deceptive. They don't announce their importance. They don't come with warnings or deadlines attached. They simply arrive, give you a window of opportunity, and then leave quietly. That's why today is the deadline. Not because everything ends tonight, but because everything that matters begins with what you do now. People think deadlines are external. A due date, a schedule, a reminder. But the most powerful deadlines are internal. They're the moments when you decide that waiting has cost you enough. Today becomes the deadline when you realize that delay is no longer neutral. That postponing action isn't harmless. It's shaping your future in ways you may not like. Tomorrow is comfortable because it's abstract. Today is uncomfortable because it demands a decision. Tomorrow carries hope without responsibility. Today carries responsibility without guarantees. And that's why most people prefer tomorrow. But growth doesn't live in tomorrow. It lives in today and in the actions you take when you rather wait. When you treat today like a deadline, your priorities change. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop giving attention to distractions that add no value. You stop assuming you'll have more time later to fix what you're avoiding now. Urgency sharpens focus. It doesn't create panic. It creates clarity. Today is the only day you can act. The past is closed. The future is theoretical. Today is the intersection of opportunity and action. Everything you want, confidence, discipline, success, peace can only be built today. Not all at once, but one decision at a time. Waiting for a perfect moment is a way of avoiding imperfect action. And imperfect action today beats perfect intention tomorrow every time. Treating today as the deadline doesn't mean rushing blind. It means refusing to drift. Drifting is subtle. Drifting is subtle. It feels like rest, but it's actually avoidance. Days pass, routines repeat, and life moves forward while you stay in the same place. Today is a deadline that interrupts that drift. It forces you to ask, if this were my last chance, what would I do differently? Deadlines bring seriousness. When a deadline is real, excuses disappear. You find time, you focus, you stop negotiating with yourself. That same energy exists within you right now, but you reserve it for external pressure. Treating today as the deadline means applying that pressure to yourself before life applies it for you. Most people don't change until pain becomes unavoidable, until consequences pile up, until options narrow. That's a reactive way to live. Proactive living means choosing urgency before crisis. It means acting when you still have flexibility, energy, and choice. Today is the deadline because today still gives you options. When you delay, you're not preserving energy, you're leaking it. Procrastination drains more energy than action ever will. It creates mental weight, guilt, and anxiety. Treating today as the deadline lifts that weight. Action, even small action, creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates clarity. Today as a deadline also restores ownership. When you wait, you give power to circumstances. When you act today, you reclaim control. You stop blaming timing, resources, or other people. You focus on what you can do now with what you have. That shift is empowering. Deadlines eliminate fantasy. They force reality. You stop dreaming vaguely and start acting specifically. You stop saying someday and start saying someday and start saying I. That specificity is where growth begins. Vague intents produce vague results. Clear action produces progress. Treating today as the deadline also changes how you relate to fear. Fear loses leverage when waiting is no longer an option. You stop asking, what if it fails? And start asking, what if I don't act? That question reframes everything. Fear thrives in delay. Urgency exposes it. Today is the deadline for becoming the kind of person you say you want to be. Identity is not formed by big moments, it's formed by daily choices. Each time you choose action over avoidance, discipline over comfort, courage over fear, you reinforce that identity. An identity compounds faster than motivation. Many people think they'll feel ready one day. Ready is a myth. Readiness comes after action, not before. Today, as the deadline forces you to move without full confidence. And that's how confidence is built, through evidence, not intention. Treating today as the deadline doesn't mean you solve everything today. It means you start, you make the call, you write the first page, you take the first step, you create movement. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do if they start today and stay consistent. Deadlines clarify what matters. When time feels limited, you stop chasing approval. You stop worrying about minor details. You focus on impact. That clarity is available to you now, if you choose to adopt it. You don't need a crisis to take life seriously. Today, as the deadline, also changes how you handle mistakes. When you're committed to action, mistakes become part of the process, not a reason to stop. You adjust and continue. Waiting for perfect conditions often leads to never starting. Acting today leads to learning. There's a difference between patience and delay. Patience is intentional waiting while preparing. Delay is avoidance disguised as patience. Treating today as the deadline exposes which one you've been practicing. It forces honesty. When you live like today matters, you respect your time differently. You stop spending it casually. You stop assuming you'll get it back. You start investing it. Time invested compound. Time wasted disappears. Today is the deadline for difficult conversations you've been avoiding, for boundaries you've been afraid to set, for habits you've been meaning to change, for opportunities you've been watching from a distance. None of these get easier with time. Avoidance doesn't reduce difficulty, it increases it. Urgency doesn't mean stress, it means intention. It means being present. It means choosing depth over distraction. Treating today as the deadline pulls you out of autopilot and into awareness. You stop sleepwalking through routines and start engaging with purpose. Life doesn't announce when windows are closing. You realize it only after they've shut. Today, as the deadline keeps you from assuming unlimited access, it keeps you humble, focused, and grateful. When you adopt this mindset, small actions gain meaning. 1 hour of focused work matters. One honest conversation matters. One disciplined choice matters. Because those actions taken today change tomorrow. Treating today as the deadline also builds self-trust. Each time you act instead of postpone, you prove to yourself that you can rely on you. That trust is foundational. Without it, motivation fades quickly. Where the discipline grows, there will always be reasons to wait. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be fear. Today, as the deadline doesn't eliminate these things, it puts them in their place. They become background noise, not decision maker. At the end of your life, you won't remember most ordinary days. But ordinary days are what shape extraordinary lives. Today is ordinary. That's why it's powerful. It's another chance to choose differently. Treat today as the deadline. Not because time is running out in a dramatic way, but because waiting is costing you quietly. Each day you delay becomes harder to justify. Each day you act becomes easier to repeat. You don't need a sign. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect clarity. You need a decision. And that decision is simple. Will you act today or will you postpone again? Today is the deadline because today is real. Tomorrow is a story you tell yourself. Yesterday is a memory you can't change. Today is the only place where life responds to you. If you want a different future, you don't start tomorrow. You start now. As this message comes to a close, understand this clearly. The purpose of urgency is not to scare you, it's to awaken you. This is not about fear of the clock, it's about respect for the moment. Time is not your enemy, but it's not your friend either. It is neutral, and it responds only to action. It does not care about your intentions, your explanations, or your regrets. It only reflects what you do with it. And right now in this moment, time is listening. You've heard the message. Not just with your ears, but somewhere deeper. That quiet place inside you that knows you were meant for more, that knows you've been delaying something important, that knows comfort has been costing you growth. That voice doesn't scream, it whispers. And most people drown it out with noise, distractions, routines, and excuses. But you heard it today. And hearing it changes everything. Because awareness removes innocence. From this point forward, you know better. The truth is, your life is speaking to you every single day. Your results are speaking. Your habits are speaking. Your energy is speaking. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is speaking. And it's not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be intentional. It's asking you to stop living as if time is unlimited and start living as if this moment matters. Because it does. You don't need to overhaul your entire life tonight. That's not how real change works. Real change begins with one honest decision, followed by one disciplined action. Repeat it consistently. The danger isn't that you can't do everything. The danger is doing nothing because you can't do everything. Progress has never required perfection. It has always required commitment. At some point, you must stop negotiating with yourself. Stop telling yourself you'll start when you feel better, when you're more confident, when things calm down, when you have more time. Life does not calm down. Responsibilities do not disappear. Fear does not magically leave. You move forward while carrying all of it. That's adulthood. That's growth. That's leadership over your own life. You were not created to merely survive your days. You were created to engage with them, to shape them, to leave your print on them. Every day you wake up, you are given a small piece of your life back. What you do with that piece determines the direction of your future. Waste enough pieces, and years disappear. Invest them wisely, and a life is built. Understand this, waiting feels safe, but it is the riskiest strategy of all. Waiting assumes conditions will improve on their own. Waiting assumes motivation will magically arrive. Waiting assumes tomorrow is guaranteed. None of those assumptions are promised. Action, on the other hand, creates clarity. Action creates momentum. Action creates belief. You don't believe your way into action. You act your way into belief. You are not behind because you are incapable. You are behind because you have underestimated the power of consistent urgency, not panic. Not stress, urgency with purpose. Urgency that says, this matters enough for me to show up even when I don't feel like it. That level of urgency separates people who dream from people who build. Let go of the lie that you have time to figure it out later. Later is not a place you ever arrive at. It's a word you use to delay discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Honesty is uncomfortable. But regret is far more painful and it lasts much longer. Choose your discomfort wisely. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your daily standard. And standards are not what you say you believe. They are what you consistently do. Raise your standards for how you use your time. Raise your standards for how you talk to yourself. Raise your standards for how long you tolerate misalignment between who you are and who you know you should be. There will be moments when you feel tired. There will be moments when progress feels slow. There will be moments when you question if it's worth it. Those moments are not signs to stop. They are signs that you are growing. Comfort never asks questions. Growth always does. Remember, urgency is not about rushing through life. It's about being fully present in it. It's about deciding that your life deserves your attention, your effort, your best energy. It's about honoring the gift of today by not treating it casually. Casual living produces casual results. Intentional living produces impact. You are not here by accident. The fact that you are breathing, listening, reflecting means your story is still being written. And stories don't change in the final chapter. They change in the middle when the character decides to act differently. Starts to act differently. This is the middle. This is the turning point, if you choose it to be. Stop waiting for confidence. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and follow through, you strengthen your self-trust. Every time you delay, you weaken it. Self-trust is not built through hype. It's built through discipline. You don't need applause to begin. You don't need validation to continue. The most important work you will ever do is often done quietly, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when the only witness is you. When the only witness is you. That's where character is formed. That's where momentum is born. Time will keep moving whether you move or not. That part is non-negotiable. The only question is whether you will move with intention or let life move you by default. One path leads to ownership. The other leads to excuses. One leads to growth. The other leads to regret. Years from now, you will look back on this season. You will either say, that's when I decided to change, or that's when I knew I should have changed. The difference between those two statements is action. Not massive action. Not dramatic action. Honest, consistent action. You are not too late. As long as you are breathing, you are still early. But early does not mean infinite. Opportunity has a season. Energy has a season. Focus has a season. Don't wait until life forces urgency on you through pain. Choose urgency now through purpose. Let today be the day you stop postponing your potential. Let today be the day you stop living on pause. Let today be the day you decide that your time is valuable, your life is meaningful, and your actions will reflect that truth. You don't need to do everything today, but you must do something. One step, one decision, one action that aligns with the future you say you want. That's how that's how time starts working with you instead of against you. This is not the end of the message. It's the beginning of responsibility. What you do after this matters more than what you felt during it. Inspiration fades. Discipline remains. Urgency must turn into habit. Stand up in your life. Show up for your calling. Respect the clock, not with fear, but with focus. Because you are not just running out of time. You are running toward a decision, and that decision is yours. Every day you wake up, you are given a choice. That choice might seem small at the moment, but the truth is, small choices accumulate into the story of your life. What you do today, even in ways that feel insignificant, is writing your future. Every minute you spend scrolling, procrastinating, avoiding, or hesitating is a minute you will never get back. Time does not bend to your comfort. It moves forward, relentlessly. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop giving your power away to distraction, doubt, and delay. You are living a life that you are designing, whether consciously or unconsciously. The people you surround yourself with, the media you consume, the habits you allow, the mindset you cultivate, they are all casting votes for who you will become. The most successful people in the world understand this. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for inspiration. They understand that action, repeated consistently, is the engine of transformation. Inaction must happen now. Not must happen now. Not when things are easier. Fear will try to convince you that waiting is safe. It will whisper in your ear that you should pause, prepare, or delay. It will make you believe that one more day of comfort is harmless. But that is a lie. Every day you wait is a day your potential slips quietly through your fingers. Every hesitation chips away at the life you could have built, the influence you could have had, the impact you could have made. Fear only grows when you give it space. Courage grows when you act despite it. You are capable more than you give yourself credit for. Inside of you is the same power, determination, and resilience that has allowed humanity to achieve extraordinary things over centuries. The problem is not ability. The problem is waiting. The problem is postponing your greatness under the illusion that timing must be perfect. Timing is never perfect. Opportunity rarely comes knocking when you feel ready. It comes when you act, and you make it ready by showing up. Look around you. Every success you admire was once a risk. Every breakthrough, every invention, every life-changing achievement began with someone deciding that today, no matter what, they would act. They didn't wait until they were perfect. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They acted imperfectly, courageously, and consistently. That is what separates ordinary people from extraordinary people. The decision to treat every day as though it matters and to act accordingly. Regret is heavy. It settles over you quietly, creeping in through the cracks of inaction. People often say they fear failure, but the real fear is regret. They fear looking back and realizing they spent their life waiting for conditions that would never come. They fear looking at themselves in the mirror and seeing that they hid, hesitated, and compromised because comfort seemed easier than courage. Regret is permanent. It lingers. It poisons confidence. It steals energy. Fear is temporary. It can be faced. It can be overcome. The lesson is clear. Act before regret arrives. Momentum is built from consistent action, not occasional bursts of inspiration. One decision leads to another. One step creates a rhythm, and one day of showing up sets the tone for the next. This is why treating today as a deadline is so important. It is not about panicking or rushing. It is about creating a rhythm of urgency that keeps you moving forward steadily, deliberately, and intentionally. When you decide today matters, you start stacking victories. Small victories compound into confidence, resilience, and influence. You cannot wait for the world to align in your favor. The world will always have obstacles, challenges, and interruptions. Life will always test you, distract you, and push you to settle for less. Waiting for a perfect environment, perfect timing, or perfect conditions is the most effective way to waste a life. Instead, choose to act where you are with what you have, imperfectly but intentionally. The result is growth, learning, and the life you were meant to build. Time is not just passing, it is shaping you. Every moment you spend doing something or not doing something is conditioning you for the life you will have tomorrow. If you spend your days postponing, hesitating, and waiting, you are training yourself to keep doing that. If you spend your days showing up, pushing forward, and embracing discomfort, you are training yourself to rise to any challenge. Your habits, choices, and actions are the bricks of your future, and the mortar is urgency. So start now. Don't wait for external pressure to force you into action. Don't wait for perfect conditions, inspiration, or confidence. Begin with what you can control today. Begin with one decision, one step, one conversation, one action that aligns with the life you want to live. Progress begins with the courage to start. Momentum begins with the courage to continue. And greatness begins with the courage to treat every day as though it matters. This is your life. Your time is finite. Your potential is enormous. Every day that passes is a day you cannot reclaim. Every hesitation is a vote against your own dream. Every action, no matter how small, is a vote for them. And those votes compound over time into the life you will inhabit. Will it be a life of hesitation, regret, and untapped potential? Or will it be a life of action, growth, and fulfillment? That choice is yours. You are not here to drift. You are not here to watch the days pass. You are here to move, to create, to influence, to leave a legacy. Treat today as a deadline. Treat it as the only day guaranteed to you. Treat it as the day to start, the day to try, the day to commit, the day to rise. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for luck. Don't wait for the perfect moment. That moment is now and is yours. And when you look back years from now, you will see that the difference between a life wasted and a life lived fully was not circumstances, talent, or opportunity. It was action. It was urgency. It was urgency. It was the decision to treat every ordinary day as extraordinary. It was the decision to respect your time, honor your potential, and refuse to let comfort, doubt, or fear dictate your story. You are capable. You are powerful. You are meant for impact. The clock is ticking. The world is moving. Your future is being shaped at this very second. What you do will determine the life you live, the people you influence, and the legacy you leave behind. Act, start, commit, rise. Today is the deadline. And the time to begin is now. You have the opportunity to step into yourself fully. To act decisively, to leave no space for regret to take root, to build habits, confidence, and momentum that will carry you further than hesitation ever could. To live a life that is intentional, brave, and fully owned by you. And that opportunity exists only in the present. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't allow fear, doubt, or distraction to dictate the direction of your life. Stand up, take action, and make today count. Let today's decisions echo into tomorrow. Let today's courage build your confidence, resilience, and legacy. Let today be the day you finally stop delaying and start living fully, intentionally, and bold. This is your call, your wake up, your reminder that you are shapeable and here for a purpose. Time is not waiting. The world is not waiting. Your potential is not waiting. You can continue to drift, or you can start moving with urgency, clarity, and intentionality. That choice, as always, is yours. Make today the day that matters. Make today the day you refuse regret. Make today the day you honor your life, your time, and your potential. Today is the deadline, and there's no better time than now to begin. The clock is ticking. Your opportunity is here. Your moment is now. Take it, own it, live it, and do not waste another second.